To start with a friendly technology, I think. Who remembers one of these things? Yeah. I was down in Florida not too long ago doing a presentation, and a young man, Dave Moyer, came out kind of like him, and he was helping me. And was that me? Oh, that was you. Okay. He was helping me, and I said, you know, I really need to get a 5 1/4-inch floppy to get started with this. And you should have seen the look on his face. And finally he says, you know, I think I saw one of those in a museum somewhere. So that's where we are. Hey, but if this is a floppy, then what was this thing that came out? That was a floppy as well. And it all pertained to one of these things. Remember one of these things? Zeros and ones. And my goodness, have we grown tremendously since that particular point in time. Take a look at my presentation. I'm going to run this just a little bit different for you. I'm going to come down here and click and go full screen on this piece here. And what I'd like to do is, and I'll explain this in just a second, how I'm running my presentation, because I want you to start thinking differently. I want you to start thinking about working as a 21st century educator. We have heard so much about 21st century skills, and our children need to be doing this, but I'm going to focus on you as the educator, and what you should be doing to set yourself up as a 21st century educator. And we need to start understanding the cloud and how to build innovative learning environments inside the cloud. So what we're seeing here, by the way, what are we seeing here?
A dead bird.
It's like a dead bird. Interesting. That's a jet breaking the sound barrier at the exact time. That jet is going supersonic. And what's forming around that jet? A vapor cloud, a cloud. And so as you start to think about yourself, and you need to start doing things differently, because if you don't, you know the old saying, don't change behavior, outcome will always be the same. Everything that you're doing should be under scrutiny today in your classrooms and whatever role that you have. Because we want you to move in and through the cloud. We want you to start going, in a sense, supersonic with your teaching. And we need to do that. It's critically important, as you'll see why. Now, I'm going to click on my website, because there's one website that you need to visit. One website for me, just one, Kuglin.com. If you want to follow my presentation, you come down here and you click on Slide Rocket, and then you come down here to the bottom where it says Metro State Presentation. That's the exact presentation that I'm delivering now, complete with movies and everything. You can get that on your iPhone, you can get it on your iPad, you can get it on your computer. It doesn't make any difference. So there's a new model for you right there. I'm going to give you more information in the 20 minutes that I've been scheduled than I can cover in 20 minutes. Does that make sense? That short circuits some people. Wait, he gives me 20 minutes worth of information in 20 minutes worth of time. Old world thinking. Start changing that. And you'll see what I mean as I move through this brief presentation that I have. You're going to start learning how to work differently. So we're going to close this down, or minimize this down, and we'll come back to the presentation. It is really about what is significant and what isn't. Educating our students for their future, not for what is convenient for us, not as what is comfortable for us. It's educating their future. So I want you to listen, because you know the president called on us during the union speech, State of the Union speech. Didn't he call on us? You bet he did. He said, we need to get moving. We need to become competitive. We need to remain our competitiveness. And if you don't think that's the case, I want you to listen. This is a little TED inside of TED. I want you to listen to this speaker. Look at his credentials. He writes, the author of When China Rules the World. Just listen to what he had to say. And do you think that our leaders are beginning to listen to this as well? We better start listening to this as educators. Listen.
The world is changing with really remarkable speed. If you look at the chart at the top here, you'll see that in 2025, these Goldman Sachs projections suggest that the Chinese economy will be almost the same size as the American economy. And if you look at the chart for 2050, it's projected that the Chinese economy will be twice the size of the American economy, and the Indian economy will be almost the same size as the American economy. And we should bear in mind here that these projections were drawn up before the Western financial crisis. A couple of weeks ago, I was looking at the latest projection by BNP Paribas for when China will have a larger economy than the United States. Goldman Sachs projected 2027. The post-crisis projection is 2020.
2020. Their economy is going to surpass ours. We're beginning to look at that and say there is a tremendous sense of urgency. And the president is turning to us to start thinking differently and to start moving. And I have some specifics regarding what we can do to help, because we're being called upon from our nation's leader, where I'm not talking politics, whether you like him or not, that's material. Just look at some of the facts. So what we really need to continue to focus on is what is important and what isn't. And of course, it's this person right here. That person right there is what we're in this room for. We feel we have something to offer to that person, or we wouldn't be sitting here. And if I had time enough to develop this over this period, I would talk about what's going in her backpack, which is not what you think it is. Okay? But think about it, because our job is to get that person to this level right here. That, no matter where you're at in this continuum, that's where we need to go. So how are we equipped to handle this in our schools? How are we equipped to handle what the president has just challenged us? What are we up against? Well, this was a sign taken out of a school here recently. Yeah, we're really tuned in. We really understand what's in front of us. We've got to look at this, and we've got to move on. So think about that as I come back to this in my talk just a little bit later. We have a 21st century challenge in front of us. And that 21st century challenge is this. Do our schools meet the needs of a new generation of learners? Take content standards, take everything that we got out there. It really boils down to, are we going to be competitive as a nation? Will we educate our children to be able to go out and work in a set of teams, collaboratively in a set of teams, to sell to the world, buy from the world, collaborate with people all over the world? Look what our own Department of Labor talks about, 10 to 14 jobs by the time they're 38. So the stage is set for us, and the challenge is on. So how are we doing? Let's go get a report card. How are we doing? Project Tomorrow, one of the largest samplings of its kind in the country, goes out to almost 300,000 students, 30,000 teachers, and so forth. This is what was reported last year. This is what was reported last year in that study, okay? Students say they have to power down when they enter in schools. Education report signals weakness in U.S. global competitiveness. That was last year. Now, thank goodness we've made big strides since then. Think about it just for a second. Because what do you think the outcome was this year of that same study? And just think about the cause and effect relationship. Because students have to power down, then here's what the students are saying this year in the study. Schools begin to lose relevancy. No longer relevant to me. Again, I was taken by what Dave had to say because he's 18. I'm 60. This is my 40th year. So out goes happier excuses. You know, old dogs can learn new tricks. They have to, or we will not survive. So yes, we've got to change the way, because as he stated, and I find it ironic that a 60-year-old with 40 years of experience in education is referencing an 18-year-old. But do you know why I'm doing that? Because he is the customer. He is the product. And he's coming out and telling us some very, very insightful things. And one of the things that he's saying is that today's learners are really free agent learners. They don't have to come to our buildings to get knowledge. They can go get it anywhere. So what value are you adding to their education? Think about that. They want social-based learning. The number one technology for young people today is social networking and so forth. The number one technology blocked in schools today is social networking. My daughter graduated from the University of Montana, where I retired from, and she went into broadcast journalism. Started her way, worked her way up, was a co-anchor today in Montana, became a news director, is now working for, get this, in Seattle, Fisher Communications. They own television networks in 16 large U.S. cities throughout the western United States. And you know what her new job was the first time? Director of social media. Her task is to figure out how to use social media to connect with the audience to bring it in. And we have the same kind of challenges. So we have to learn how to use this social media, because students want experiences that transcend classroom walls. And that's where primary materials comes into play. Assets such as that gives our students a broader range. And look at the yellow. We've got to understand that assessment is different. The process of creation is more important than the end result. How are you creating this? Okay? So, here it is. Why students are powering down. This is the challenge that I have for you. Right here, what's your story? Your story is going to be that you're going to really evaluate what you're doing, and you're going to understand this circle. Because see the yellow area? The yellow area represents the technologies that the school district buys you. Many of you operate in this yellow area. What's that red stand for? The firewall. You just try to get through that firewall. Okay? But the problem is, where are the students at? They're out here operating in this sphere. How are you going to reach out? How are you going to be effective if you lock yourself in here when your students are out here? Some teachers are saying, I'm mad and I'm not going to stand for it anymore, and I'm going to start taking charge of my own personal digital plan. And so I'm going to start challenging you to start thinking differently. You're going to have to build a digital footprint that overlays that whole circle of influence, I'll call it. You'll need to learn to work as a 21st century educator. You need to build systems and rely on systems for success, and you need to meet your students where they are, okay? And so I'm going to show you some specific steps in the 9 minutes that I have left to show you how to build that circle of influence for yourself as an educator. But first, you need to understand an important lesson I learned from the German Coast Guard, of all places. What happens when you think that you're speaking English? Your students are supposedly speaking and understanding English for the most part. You think you're communicating with them, but you're not. But you're not. Here's a good example right here.
Das hier ist mein Sektor. Das hier ist das wichtigste Gerät des Küstenwächters. Das Gerät und das Gerät. Überlebensradar.
Take over. Okay?
Mayday, Mayday. Hello, can you hear us? Can you hear us? Can you... Over. We are sinking. We are sinking.
Hello? This is the German Coast Guard.
We are sinking. We're sinking.
What are you thinking about?
You think that you're speaking and understanding the same language, but you're not communicating. How's that for an example? Remember, this whole presentation is online for you, plus others. So again, I had 20 minutes, but I'm giving you more content. If you like that clip, go ahead and use it, grab it, take it, and play with it. The understanding now is that we need to understand, if we're going to build this circle of influence, what is going on out there. We need to understand bigger picture items, like 3 converging trends that are happening to us as a society. 1, widespread wireless access. It's becoming more widespread across the country. Wi-Fi, WiMAX. I carry my own network with me in my pocket. I have it in my pocket. I didn't bring it out with me, but I have my own network. What are we going to do when kids do this? And we've seen this right here. We know the iPad. Did you know that 52 devices or 53 devices at the recent Consumer Electronics Show were also introduced? Tablet devices such as this, running on Honeycomb, which is the Android operating system. We're going to have a plethora of those entering into our buildings. So now what are we going to do when a student comes in with an iPad or one of those devices, brings their network device and sets it right on the desk, which is coming down substantially in price, and says, teach me. I don't need your network. I don't need anything out here. Is that going to happen? You better believe it. Is that happening in anybody's school right now? Yeah, I see hands going up. It's happening now. I want to know who's going to stand at the front door of the school and say, you can't bring that computer network in here. This is an institution of learning. How's that going to work for us? So yes, these are coming here, and we need to take this kind of thing, if you're a leader or in a position or not, become an evangelist, we need to change this. Is this the beginning of BYOT? Bring your own technology, where we now have signs like this that are in our schools? We welcome to bring your technology. We can't afford to buy you everything. We welcome this, and that is what's happening and going around the country. As I move around the country, I see what some school districts are doing. So, modern day demands on you as a teacher, tremendous. I know that, and I understand that. I'm still a licensed and certified teacher in the state of Colorado. I've always maintained that because I feel that's so important. And I was the chief information officer in Eagle County schools for 3 years, so I stay grounded. I understand what you're facing. So we have an unprecedented demand on us as educators. So enter something called cloud computing. Cloud is like an electricity grid that serves up services on a powerful, affordable, and scalable fashion. Now that should resonate with school districts whose budgets are dwindling. So we need to look for solutions, cloud-based solutions. And those solutions then are part of the answer. You should also look to resources in the state that are being designed and developed as I speak. And one of them is eNet Colorado. And many of you know Dan Morris, who's going to speak in the next set of speakers, who's the executive director of this and understands the state and all the organizations. eNet Colorado is going to put together iTunes University. Anybody familiar with iTunes? We're going to have an iTunes for Colorado, or Colorado on iTunes, that's launching soon for the best of the best kinds of things. Adobe Connect rooms, web conferencing back and forth. All schools right now can get a conference room, and Dan might be able to mention that. He doesn't have much time, but he can talk to you afterwards. Intel Teach elements, teaching you the pedagogy and so forth. And custom curriculum publishing, a new concept that will get teachers to give up their textbooks because they understand. eNet is also going to bring in Sky, which talks about a custom curriculum publishing. Here's a movie that talks about Sky, okay? And am I going to play this movie? No, you're going to play it later at home so you can understand what Sky is talking about. How do you get to that movie? Kuglin.com. See how I'm modeling for you? I'm setting up my resources online like you should do. My presentations are online, and I'm disseminating it out as such. So understand what custom curriculum publishing is. Okay? Understand that
the
Google just launched the Google Apps
centralized
Marketplace.
storefront that offers
another movie for you to play and understand that just happened January 25th. And they now are starting to have a marketplace where they're going to be putting apps together and so forth. So understand that piece. Okay? Understand that all of this needs to come together in a comprehensive plan for the future that follows two axes, X and Y. You need to increase your proficiency and knowledge in the use of technology, and you need to increase and understand how to pedagogically use the methods that will deploy technology efficient, with the end result being student achievement. It's the bottom line is student achievement. And that's where we need to go, and we want to get into that D quadrant where students have the competence to think in complex ways. That's what America needs. We need to be competitive. And don't tell me that things like General Motors and so forth aren't hiring people who have these kinds of skills. So we need to do that in an affordable way, right down here. That means you start giving up on your Gutenberg world, the printing press, and you start moving to the digital world. That's what this conference is all about with primary digital resources. Every time you buy something that's paper, you think about it. Because there's a host of resources out there that you need and that will want to buy and that are online. Now, some of this here, Intel, is free. And eNet Colorado will happen to bring these resources to you. Again, Dan happens to be here as a speaker, but he happens to be one of the master trainers for Intel throughout the country, travels the country. We have him here in Colorado. He can help set up and bring these things to us. And this is pedagogically speaking in the last minute that I have. So you need to build your circle around pedagogy and so forth. Here, you need to build your circle and around, ask yourself, are you competent in collaboration tools, geo-referencing your curriculum? No cost for collaboration tools, no cost for geo-referencing. Innovative storage solutions. Where is your storage at? Can you access it on your phone? Can you access it on your iPad? Can you access it on your computer at work and home? There are systems out there. A digital presence. You must have a digital presence. Custom online tutorials. Can you build your own tutorials? Yes. No cost. You can start, instead of repeating something 20 times, you can build one tutorial and post it on your site and have your students visit that. Curriculum mapping, mind maps, bringing all the resources together, and of course, innovative ways to use presentation tools like I'm using with you right now. Those should all become part of your influence here. So, as I close right here, we need to start taking a look at a plan to do that. I have a 10-day plan and a 3-day workshop. If you're interested in this, visit Kuglin.com. And I'm out of time. That was really using analog compression to come down. Kuglin.com, please visit. enetcolorado.org. huge for you, and Kuglin.com. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.